Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be going over our 2025 SHOT Show experience. Now, before we get into this video, I do have to admit that SHOT Show was extremely busy this year, and the plan that we had for content, just kind of going over what we were trying to accomplish at SHOT Show, kind of got pushed to the wayside just due to, again, how busy we were with how many meetings we had and how many people that we had to meet throughout the show. So I do apologize in advance if this video seems a little bit jumpy, doesn't flow as naturally as we wanted to, because like I said, the plan for the content just didn't really go as we originally wanted to. So Isaac Botkin also filmed a couple videos himself, so make sure you check out the T-Rex Labs channel for additional SHOT Show content, and then this video is going to be mainly some of the highlights that I experienced through SHOT Show. So the original plan for this video was to obviously show you guys some of the new and cool stuff that's coming out into the industry, but honestly, there's a ton of people already doing that. By the time SHOT Show is over, there's hundreds of YouTube videos out there already going over all the new stuff. So I wanted to approach the SHOT Show content in a different angle, and that was to ask vendors or manufacturers, companies, whatever you want to call them, very specific questions. The first question I wanted to ask people was, who did they make their new products for? What was the intended customer base for their new product, and who do they design it for specifically? So generally what we see is we see new cool lasers come out, for example, but these lasers were designed for a military contract in mind. So this is what I wanted to highlight at SHOT Show was, when there was a new product, who was it made for? Was it actually made for people like you and me, the civilian defense industry, or was it made for a military or law enforcement contract or something like that? The second question I wanted to ask manufacturers or vendors, these other companies that are at SHOT Show, is when they come out with a new product, whether it's a laser, an optic, or a flashlight or something like that, would you send it to T-Rex for us, the T&E? Would you guys be okay with us making a video about it before or right at launch of the new product? And if you're not willing to do so, why would you not want to send it to T-Rex? So obviously going into SHOT Show with this kind of goal in mind of asking these questions to people, this was kind of a lofty goal. These are going to be kind of confrontational, and I kind of assumed that people are going to be standing by ready to answer these questions, and that just wasn't the case. So I didn't really get to ask these questions to many people. I did get to ask a couple people, a couple of different companies these questions. You guys will get to see that in the video, but overall I didn't get to do it as much as I wanted to. So the overall goal of this video unfortunately was not met. So the majority of this video, as you guys are going to see, is just going to be me pointing out some new cool things, talking about it here and there, and I did try to keep in the context of the video of pointing out, was the product made for us, or was it made for military, or was it made for hunting, something like that. So as you guys get into the video, just keep in mind what the original context of the video was intended to be, and again, I apologize that I didn't stick to it perfectly. Like I said, we just got really busy, and the video probably is going to seem a little bit jumpy, but hope you guys enjoy some of the content from the SHOT Show floor, and once we get through all the content on the floor, I'll give you guys a little conclusion at the end. Probably the most exciting thing at SHOT Show for me this year is the Staccato HD. As you guys know, I'm moving to 2011s as I compete in the tactical games. And Staccato released the HD, which takes Glock mags. So it's a 2011 that takes Glock mags, has no grip safety, which is awesome. It has an ambi slider release that you can actually reach with your thumb, just like a normal Glock. So it's not a two-handed reload like most 2011s. And it has an external ejector. So the my 2011, my Atlas that's broken is because it doesn't have an external ejector. So basically it eliminates, and on paper as of now, this pistol's eliminated all of the bad things about 2011s and implemented, but kept all of the good things about 2011s, like the pistol, or the trigger, the recoil of the gun, and that sort of thing. So this thing's super interesting. Really excited to get one of these. And this is the 4.5. This is the 4.5 inch. So the front side of this guy is basically fixed to the barrel, and it's intended to reduce the amount of mass that reciprocates on the gun for so less recoil, basically. But it looks like this gun was designed more for a more durable 2011 option, so this is going to be geared more towards the duty side of things, which is pretty cool. So this is definitely a pistol I'm going to be looking at for competing in the tactical games, even though I already bought the Atlas. Now for the trigger itself, it's a pretty heavy trigger for a 2011. I'm sure they're going to offer this pistol with lighter triggers. I believe this is a 4-pound trigger. If this pistol only comes in a 4.5 pound trigger, that's going to really be disappointing, to be honest. Again, one of the best things about 2011s, I think it is the best thing about 2011s, is the trigger itself. Recoil, yes, it is softer at 2011s, but just input the gun a little bit more with the Glock, and you're going to have the same return to your point of aim with most striker-fire pistols as comparatively 2011. So, one thing you can't get with the striker-fire guns is these triggers. So if they keep a heavy trigger in the gun, like I said, it'll be disappointing, but it's still, on paper, as of right now. Obviously, we haven't shot it or tested it. It's the best designed pistol I've seen to date. So just talk to the Staccato guys a little bit about the pistol. So one of the questions I asked was about the trigger specifically, if there's a reason why it was so heavy. And basically the reason why is because they wanted the trigger to have a very clean break, and apparently lightening the trigger weight makes it a little bit of a mushy type feeling trigger. But it is possible to lighten the trigger, they just don't recommend it. So there is apparently a way to get the trigger down to 2 pounds. In an aftermarket sense, it's not going to come from the factory that way, which is, I guess, positive. If you're going to buy the pistol for competition, that's a good thing to know. And they did design the pistol towards government contracts specifically. It was not designed to go towards the civilian defense industry or anything like that. So again, we're seeing some innovation. These more pistols not geared towards civilians, but more towards fulfilling contracts, and we're just kind of getting the leftovers of the design process. So what we want to see, again, from a lot of companies is we want to see things designed for us first, and then military pick it up after the fact. That's what we want to see. That's obviously a big ask, and it's, you know, financially not the most reasonable thing, and this is not a hit on Staccato or anything. It's just that's just what how it is right now. So we're going to keep asking questions like this from some people. We're going to try to get some of these questions on camera rather than me asking and then filming about it afterwards. But I'm off to a meeting, and then we'll be back to filming. One of the bigger releases that we've seen before SHOT Show is the Aimpoint Koa. So this is a red dot that comes with the Glock. It's a new footprint. And one of the things I wanted to check out with this thing is just the size of it, because it's coming on both double stack full size Glocks and the slimline Glocks. I will say this optic looks like it's made for a slimline Glock, which is pretty interesting. It's extremely narrow, but the window is very, very large. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I know I'm flagging myself, but at SHOT Show, we don't really flag. Our flagging rules don't really apply here at SHOT Show. But the footprint of this is really, really small. I definitely think this was more suited for a slimline gun in comparison to full-size optics that are currently available, like the P2 and the RMR and stuff like that.
We'll give you an autograph.
Another pretty interesting thing about it is all of these pistols that have them displayed have steel sights on them. So it looks like these guns are going to come with metal sights from Glock, and they're blacked out, which is pretty interesting. This is what we would like to see. And then the other thing that we have here is the flashlight that Glock announced right before SHOT Show. So you activate with the side button. It's kind of like an old school Enforce light. So not the ideal button placement or button activation that we would want to see. We kind of like the TLR7 switches where you can drive your thumb down into the gun as you activate the light. A little bit of recoil control as you activate the light with the TLR7, but not so much the case here. It's pretty easy just to activate constant and then, you know, do your thing and then deactivate it. But overall, the form factor is pretty good. Don't really know the specs of it, of output and whatnot, but most exciting thing, definitely the Koa. I already ordered one, actually. I got a Glock 48 on the way with one of these. And as you can tell with the Glock 19, it is smaller than the slide itself. So it's a pretty small optic in comparison to full size currently. Most of you guys are probably familiar with the PLXC. It's a very, very common 1:8 LPVO, and a lot of people have argued that it's the best LPVO on the market, especially for the price. Primary Arms came out with the RDB version of that. It stands for Red Dot Bright, and that was the biggest complaint with the PLXC. So the traditional PLXC was the first focal plane. It didn't have the best reticle brightness, so they came out with a second focal plane with their Nova reticle in it that was daylight bright, but it was second focal plane. Well, now they combined the best of both worlds. We now have the first focal plane that's Red Dot Bright, and this LPVO on paper, especially for the price, definitely enters the conversation for being the best LPVO out there right now. So this is going to be $1,750. I don't remember exactly when it's releasing. It's going to be this year, early on. But this is definitely one of the most exciting things, especially from this booth, but also just SHOT Show in general, is we have a very, very small, lightweight, compact LPVO, Red Dot Bright. And why it's so exciting with this optic particularly, because on one buy, this is the best one buy I've ever seen with an LPVO. It's just edge-to-edge clarity is unbelievable. It literally looks about as close as you can get to a red dot as possible through an LPVO. Now, Night Force NX Attacker 1:8 and the newer NX 8 1:8s are the only LPVOs I've seen that are first focal plane that are truly red dot bright. And now this is another one. So those are the only ones I know of right now. But given the form factor and the weight of this guy, it's 17 ounces, was extremely light. This is really, really exciting. But we have some other things to look at from Primary Arms. They got a lot of stuff going on, so let's go look at some other stuff. Primary Arms is also bringing another 2.5 to 20 option to the market. So this is the most common magnification range from Nightforce that we're seeing, as in like sales. It's the most popular optic because it's very flexible, it's very versatile. So Primary Arms is bringing one as well. Form factor is pretty similar. I believe this is a 34 millimeter tube. I could be wrong, judging by first look here. Looks 34 mil. So this is going to be the PLX line, which is their high-end line. We talked about this a little bit earlier with the guys. We had a meeting a few days ago with them about it. This is going to be more expensive than Nightforce, so they're really pushing the fact that they do make premium optics, and I think this is a good example of it. Now, the 1 to 8 with that RDB reticle in it, so truly red dot bright, they said we're going to see that technology creep into these higher power optics as well, which is awesome. So this guy on 2.5 by, zoomed all the way out, the reticle is very, very tiny. So if I want to be able to use that, I think illumination is going to be necessary, and I would like to have red dot bright if I can have it. I just don't really see the point of not having it. I know most people say you just don't need it. You only need that illumination that's just enough to be able to shoot at night. I disagree. So the fact that that type of reticle brightness is coming to one of these optics, that's very cool. Like we saw earlier, we saw it with the Leupold 2 to 10. They brought a red dot bright reticle to that 2 by magnification, which I think is important. Another cool thing that they did, excuse me, this is a 2 to 12 second focal plane with the Nova reticle, so this is daylight bright. I believe this guy's only 350 or 400 bucks, so this is one of their cheaper optics. But what's cool about it, obviously it being second focal plane is not cool, but it's 2 to 12. It's a very small 2 to 12. So what we're seeing here is that we're going to see a nice 2 to 12 eventually from Primary Arms, so another medium power variable optics coming to market. So pretty excited about the future of this, not so much this optic in particular, but just the fact that we're seeing a 2 to 12. Now, Primary Arms, if you guys weren't aware, they make their stuff primarily for us, for civilians. They do, design stuff for contracts here and there, but majority of the stuff is not for that, so which is pretty awesome. They don't really have a ton of military contracts. You guys are the primary consumer base, but we got one more thing we want to check out. It's the new pistol optic. So right before SHOT Show, Primary Arms released their enclosed emitter pistol optic, and it's priced as a premium optic, and judging by first looks, obviously we haven't got to shoot it or anything, it appears to be worth that price. It has a unique mounting footprint that seems to be very, very good, and I'm showing you it on this Glock 19. They do have it on a bunch of other guns, but because of how low it sits, so the glass is literally level with the slide. With stock Glock polymer sights, it completely co-witnesses in the window, and that just shows you how low this optic is getting. It definitely is daylight bright. It appears to be a very strong housing. I actually kind of like the form factor. The window is completely recessed, so if you slide rack like I do off of steel items, it's not going to break the window, which is pretty cool. So excited about trying one of these out. Now with the price being so high, obviously we're going to have to approach it with the testing mindset, as in we're definitely going to have to really evaluate this thing to see if it's worth the money, because this is above Aimpoint, above Trijicon prices. But it's called the HTX-1 because it's made in Houston, Texas. That's what the HTX stands for. It's pretty cool. So a lot of cool things from Primary Arms. Again, not a new item, but something I want to look at this year, because I'm into the 2011 thing lately. This is the 2311, so this is kind of like the Glockado, or the Staccato that takes Glock mags, but this has been around for a little bit longer than that, and this takes 320 magazines. So external ejector, so we don't have the problem of over-inserting magazines and breaking them. It has got a full ambidextrous magazine release, just like a Glock or a 320 has. This one's actually configured as a left-handed gun here, and it's full ambi controls for the slide release, and they're actually almost in a position where I can reach it without breaking my grip to do reload, so it's close to where we want it for similar to a Glock or something like that. But this is still, for someone like me who has normal size hands, it's still basically a two-handed reload. 2011 style trigger. These pistols are pretty cool. It comes with a gas pedal. Totally unnecessary in my opinion, but cool looking pistols. Hopefully you get to look at some of these this year. One of the more popular things people are talking about from this SHOT Show is the Voodoo 3 to 9. Looking forward to getting one of these in-house to try it out, but just a quick rundown of it. It's a 3 to 9 ACOG basically, so it's it's a very, very small, I don't even know what you want to call it. I'm still going to call it an LPVO. It's a very, very small LPVO, and it's on a ACOG mount, so obviously very, very tiny. It's a second focal plane, which obviously we would have preferred to see this come out first focal plane first. There is a place for second focal plane. We talked about that in a video we did a couple months ago, but all that to say is we would prefer to see this thing come out in first focal plane first, and then later on second focal plane for those more niche use cases. But generally, first focal plane is going to be the best suit for people. But 3:9 erector, 3 by erector ratio, going for the 3:9, so it's pretty good eye relief, pretty good glass quality from what I can tell in here. Obviously, we'll need to get one in person, but overall, pretty excited about this. This is definitely something completely new that we haven't seen yet on the market, and we're definitely going to see, these scopes with variable magnification just get smaller and smaller and just get better and better. And this is definitely a step in that direction. So pretty cool. Something we saw at SHOT Show last year that was new was the Mark V 2-10 from Leupold. Now it came out in just black and it didn't really have any reticles that anyone was super excited about, and the illumination on it was actually pretty dim. So which generally isn't that big of a deal when we're looking at medium power type optics, but for me, I think if you can go daylight bright, why not? I've been in situations during competition where I needed a daylight bright reticle that was a little bit magnified, so something like this is going to be really, really cool because now it seems to be very, very bright. It seems to be daylight bright, in fact. Not only that, it's obviously an FDE, super cool, and there's the one thing that people really, really wanted with this optic, and that is a good reticle. This appears to be a new reticle. I'm not super familiar with all of the names of Leupold's reticles, but this looks like the PR2 just simplified a little bit, which is awesome. This is actually exactly what I want in an optic for what I do, competing in the tactical game, so I will definitely be looking at this guy in the near future. So given the price point of these are really, really good for what you get for the money. Unfortunately, we don't work with Leupold due to some dealer agreement type stuff, so this is nothing that we can sell, but that doesn't mean we can't recommend the product. Mark V line of optics is extremely good, especially for the price, and I'm super excited that the 2-10 is coming with a good reticle and now daylight bright. If you guys check out our website, you guys are probably aware that we already sell auto noise barrier headphones. We sell their Range SA, so it's basically just a Range headphone, doesn't have any comm capabilities directly. You can hook in some cables and do some stuff to make them comm capable, but they don't come with a microphone or a download basically. But if you watch the product video on that product page, you'll hear me give Otto some pretty high praises based on what you get for the money with these headphones. So a few years ago, when I was doing T&E full-time for the company, one of the projects I had was going and trying to find good hearing protection. And as some of you guys may know, I'm medically retired from the military for TBIs, so something that protects my brain is something that's very important to me. And Otto's, statistically speaking, as in on paper, what these headphones can do, are the best headphone on the market, and that is price set aside. And these are cheaper than Peltor's, cheaper than OpsCore amps by a mile, and they perform extremely, extremely well. And the other cool thing about Otto is they're not just making products for the military. They do have military contracts. They are, developing things for contracts, but they have a very strong desire to make things for civilians, and that is one of the reasons why we like to work with them. They have, like I said, just a really strong desire to innovate for civilians particularly. So one of the things that's going on with these headphones, this is one of the new some of the new upgrades they have coming, and this is coming for the comm-capable headphones, which are going to be headphones we're going to sell on the website, is they have some improved things going on here to help with wind noise. So if you have Range SAs now, you may notice that wind is a little bit noisy. They've basically fixed that with the comm-capable ones, and now these are also waterproof up to 4 meters for 30 minutes completely, due to the way they have the new battery cap on here. So this is actually completely waterproof. The other ones are already waterproof or pretty water resistant, but there's a little bit of room for error by the user by not sealing it completely. Now with the new ones, that room for user error is basically out the window. So we got to go up to their suite a little bit ago, see some of the new stuff that they're working on. I can't really talk about too much of it, but it is some seriously highly advanced technology that I'm really excited to see come to market, probably at the end of this year, maybe next year, or maybe even the year after that. Is like stuff I've never even heard of. And it's pretty cool that a company like Otto is innovating that way, and they're also innovating for civilians particularly. So one of the cooler things, definitely one of the things I'm most excited about that I've seen at SHOT Show this year, is this bridge mount from Noise Fighters for some of the new PVS-14 housings that we're seeing coming out. So it is completely articulating, and it pans, and this is extremely, extremely lightweight. So this bridge mounts directly to the housing of the PVS 14. So it's not very bulky. In fact, if you had to probably have to take a double take of this to realize this is not, something like RNVG alphas. So I'm not supposed to tell you guys the weight exactly, but it's around 20 ounces depending on what lenses and what tubes are in there. So extremely lightweight. But yeah, this is super cool. I'm really excited to see this. I'm pretty sure this bridge mount's going to be around the $500 mark too. So you can get a PVS 14, get started with your night vision, buy another one later that's in similar spec, and then get the bridge, and now you have dual tubes. And the cool thing about it is, since these are two different power sources between the different units, if something happens to one of these, as in it breaks, or just something fails, or even just your battery dies, you still have a working night vision device. So 2 is 1, 1 is none type thing going on here. So this thing's super cool. Another G24 kind of replacement option that we're seeing. It's been a long time coming that we see some different helmet mounted options that are going to be really good for your night vision. So this is one of the things that I'm more excited about, is stuff that we've just been waiting on for quite a while. So this is the Alpha Mount from Nocturne Industries. It weighs half as much as a G24 and has all of the same features of a Wilcox G24. So you have your up and down. It's a breakaway. This adjusts in and out as well. Super easy adjustments. It's literally got everything. And it's also got some texture on the back of this. So unlike G24s, when you put them into your mount, it's not going to bounce around. So there's just some like rubber grip texture here to prevent this thing from wobbling around on your helmet. So this is, I don't know how light this is, but this whole setup is extremely lightweight and extremely cool. So really looking forward to seeing this come out. New Steiner laser, which is looking really cool. It's extremely slim and small. So this is actually the second time we stopped by to look at this thing. We got some conflicting information about it. So someone from the booth told one of our guys that there was not going to be a civilian version of this, but that seems to be incorrect information. So we're actually refilming the visit of our Steiner booth. So this laser is expected to come out Q1 for military law enforcement first, full power, around $3,000, and then civilian class later towards the end of the year, around August or so is what we were told. So probably 2026, if I'm being honest, but it has a similar technology as Wilcox Raid XE and BMR Mall when it comes to the illuminator. It has 2 buttons here for different laser and illuminator settings. So you do something with this guy, I'm not really sure to program what these settings are, and then you can flip through the settings for both illuminator and your laser based on what you want to do, and then you have your activation button here. So this is a Aero Precision rail, so it's a pretty average size rail, and I can almost grip my hand all the way around this laser. So this is a very, very slim laser. So if you look down the front of this thing, there's a ton of different lasers and illuminators going on there. We don't have a ton of information about this. They actually don't even have the name of this laser displayed. So really excited about just another good laser illuminator coming out to market, especially one that this profile is extremely small, looks very lightweight. And again, just excited for another option because the market really needs it. Us civilians really need some good laser illuminator options. So we're going to probably assume around a $3,000 price point. So it's going to be up there in the higher tier laser illuminator options that we have. So pretty cool. Now we have one more thing to look at here at Steiner, and that is the 2 to 12. If I can find it, yeah, here's the 2 to 12. So this is something that I've been wanting in the market for quite a while, is just having that medium power variable style optic that stretches the legs a little bit more. So we see 2 to 10s, 3 to 9s have been around for a very long time, but I think the 2 to 12 is a pretty good sweet spot. So it has a smaller erector ratio. That 1 to 6 by erector ratio just tends to mitigate some problems with trying to stretch the erector ratio. So 1 to 10s have a 10 by ratio, which is generally distorts the glass from on the lowest and the highest magnification, but a 2 to 12 shouldn't do that. This has a good reticle in it. This has been out for a while, but we haven't seen any mill options available. We just have seen MOA, but looking forward to trying one of these out. It has all of the features that I want aside from the illumination. Illumination's not the greatest, but 2 cool things from Steiner looking forward to. So year after year at SHOT Show, one of the more exciting booths that we see is the PSA booth. We have Cameron here, one of the lead guys at Palmetto State. You guys, if you follow their social media, their YouTube, you're going to see him on camera. So he's kind of like me, but for PSA in a sense. But he's far more important for PSA than I am for T-Rex.
Yeah, well.
So one of the things we're trying to do this year is just walk around and ask questions, talk to some people, and kind of ask the question of, with new products specifically, who are you making this product for? Who is your target? Is it a contract? Is it civilian defense industry? That sort of thing. And with PSA, one of the reasons why it's so exciting is there's so many new things every year. So Cameron, who do you make your products for? Who do you design them for?
The everyday customer, man, the everyday civilian. We are focused solely on the civilian market, right?
Yep.
And that's something that we try to resonate with our customers, is that we make the innovation in our products for the customer on the ground, everyday, out there, normal life guys, right? You know, we try to have fun with it. We do things a different way sometimes, but we are designing these for the civilian user, not contract chasing or anything like that.
That's amazing. So what we're seeing is, for example, we're seeing some new things come out, and some things that we've been wanting for a very long time, talking about other companies, by the way, and they are targeted towards contracts. And that is frustrating because the civilian defense industry historically has always pushed the envelope of product design when it comes to firearms. When it comes to like very technical, things like communications and drones, military, kind of leads that generally. But when it comes to firearms, optics, and that sort of thing, we generally push the envelope of what we want. So when we see a gun that's been wanted for 10, 15 years and it's finally coming out just because a contract wants it, that's frustrating. PSA is jumping ahead of the curve, and they're coming out with stuff that sometimes we don't ask for it, sometimes it's directly asked for by customer, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we take the feedback seriously, right? And that's why we started doing this poll thing, because we wanted the feedback from the customer, right? You know, we bring a gun to the booth, we want them to vote on it, we want them to let us know if that's something they want us to make. And that's exactly what we're doing here with some of these guns behind you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to get some B-roll of some of the new stuff around here, but there's two guns in particular I want to show you guys. First and foremost is the shotgun from PSA. This thing is super cool. I'm going to let Cameron run through it, actually.
So this was one of the guns last year that we brought to the concept gun poll. It was voted number 3, so we went full bore going to getting this into production. This is going to go into production later this year. It should be out by Q3, but this is a build-it-yourself shotgun. So we designed this because Palmetto State Armory, we are taking seriously building it yourself and letting our customers make it in whatever configuration that you want. And we brought that to the 5-star shotgun line by doing this way we're doing it. So it's got a free float hanging system, so it doesn't, you can make any mag feed tube, any barrel length you want on there. It takes 870 furniture, so any aftermarket 870 furniture's on there. Low cut, RMR cut footprint in every receiver as a standard. Like, it's always going to come with that no matter what. It's got a Glock style front sight up there, so you can change that out to whatever you want. And it's got a slide release on the side here versus underneath or sometimes on the other side.
And what about this guy, the semi?
Yeah, so this is like the evolution of it, right? And this is what's really, really cool about the shotgun guys that we got. This is the same receiver as the pump, but you can make it in semi-auto, right? So, cool. If you wanted to do a pump and you have a pump at home and you decide later you want to change it to semi-auto, you don't need to buy a whole new shotgun. You buy 4 or 5 parts that we'll have on our website, and you can convert it into a semi-automatic.
That's super cool. So I'm a kind of a niche, example of this. So I overland quite a bit as a hobby, and when I go, out west to states that don't like guns, I want to be legal for various reasons. So I could buy a shotgun that's semi-automatic that I can have in my house in Tennessee, where we like guns. Good for drone defense is a hot topic right now. But if I go out west, I can configure the gun into a pump action and be 50 state legal, which is pretty cool. I don't have to buy 2 shotguns. So this is definitely something I'm 100% buying myself, not through T-Rexes. I'm really excited about this shotgun.
Yes, sir.
Now, so new Jackal, a lot of cool things that have been updated with the Jackal, and let Cameron take it because a lot of the things that have changed came from the Jackal video that we did last year.
Yeah, so obviously we get some feedback from you guys, we get feedback from our customers, and we wanted to absolutely listen and take that feedback seriously, right? Some of the complaints you had was the stock, right? You didn't like the stock, it's too flexible, right? So we're fixing that with our own version of our own stock that is going to be in here, that's going to be a solid lockup, solid, it's not going to flex on you when you're shooting, it's got a cheek riser on it, a quick adjustable pull. Now the one thing that we did on this also is we made this a dedicated gun, right? So now that expands us and allows us to expand our limits of what we're trying to do, where we're not held by just a AR-15 style lower. Now we will not stop making the Jackal 1.0 because I know people still want to use it for an AR-15 lower, but this is its own dedicated gun. We also brought the charging handle slot back a little bit so we can make mini versions, right? Because that was our limiting factor on original Jackal, is that the charging handle location is where it is. So you can only go so short on the barrel length. Well, we brought this back, so now we can get down to like 5.5 inches if we want to do a little micro 300 blackout, right?
Very cool.
Other thing we did is tighten this up a little bit here, so the height of this is a little bit tighter versus a regular Jackal. So, if you're shooting C-clamp style, like, it's going to be much easier to maneuver and manipulate is on here. Still same adjustable gas bar, but we also got ambi bolt release built into it, so that way you got your ambi controls.
Very cool. Yeah, and one thing you notice, there's less screws.
Yes. Sorry,
So-
missed that one. Yeah, there is very minimal screws, right? I think that we reduced like 14 screws off the entire gun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So regardless of how high end a company is, like for example my Atlas, screws come loose. It's just a thing, and it's one thing just as an end user, it's just one more thing you have to keep up with. So the less things that we have to worry about, obviously, the better for the gun.
100%.
We got one more that we want to check out. We have here a PSA 2011. This is super interesting. So 2011s are becoming pretty hot lately. So we're seeing a lot of 2011s on the floor, and in this video, you're probably going to see a lot of 2011s. And I kind of have a thing for 2011s lately. Obviously, I bought a $7,000 2011, so I must like them.
Yeah.
So Cameron, take it away.
Yeah, so one of the things we've been getting asked a lot about is like, when are you coming out with a double stack 1911? And so that's exactly what we're doing here. So this is going to be kind of like our custom type series. Like these are not mass production type guns for us, right? These are probably going to be 5 to 10 a day that we're going to be able to max out like capabilities on building, because we want to take the time and build a quality double stack 1911. That is our goal here. We're not trying to compete with a lower price point. We're trying to make something that is affordable, obtainable, but high quality at the same time. Same kind of mindset of what we've been doing on our rest of our Saber line of products. We want to bring this to an affordability, but we will really want to keep that bar still really high. So these are all handmade, hand fit. Everything is tight tolerancing. I mean, as you can feel it, it feels good. Like there's not sloppiness into this. This is really tight machined.
Yeah. So this gun right here. So like I said, I think I've touched almost every 2011 on the floor already. We're not filming all of them because 2011s are generally just 2011s.
Yep.
We'll say Atlas. You can definitely tell there's a really high quality with those pistols, but the rest of the pistols out there, this is either feeling better than or very comparable to. And these are like $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 pistols that this thing is, as first touch, feels pretty similar to. So which is really impressive, especially because this is technically like the first one.
Yeah, that's like the second one that we've ever made, right in your hand there, right? So our goal is to have comp versions, different grip modules, different grip panels on it. Like, I mean, we're gonna go full bore into this and try and have some fun with it. If it does, right? If that's what the customer wants, we're gonna listen to them, and that's the path we're gonna go down.
That's awesome. So that's what we want to hear, honestly, from companies is what does the customer want? We're gonna make things for the customer, not for government contracts. So,
exactly.
Cameron, appreciate your time.
No problem, Brandon. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Thanks, guys.
All right, so we're at the Nightforce booth here at SHOT Show. One of the more interesting booths when it comes to like architecture of a booth. It's actually super cool. One of the fancier booths, I would say. But here with Alexander from Nightforce, one of my good friends. He competed in tactical games last year, so obviously I like him. And he's also our main point of contact at Nightforce. So as we were going throughout SHOT Show, the main, I've repeated it multiple times in this video, main intent here is trying to figure out who is the target customer when it comes to product development from companies, whether it's from Nightforce, like a company we already work with, or just some off-the-wall company we just found randomly. So Alexander, can you tell us who was the primary target of Nightforce originally, when Nightforce originally came about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the target customer for Nightforce originally, when we were developed, was our owner, Dr. Ray Dennis. So Dr. Dennis lives in Australia, grew up doing a ton of hunting at night, so he developed really bright lights. And what followed from really bright lights was really good optics. So he could see further, he could, shoot more critters, he could do more hunting. So he had a demand that the market wasn't filling, and he developed a product to fill that demand, which was, to shoot things at night, to be able to see further, to be able to see clearer, better images, and that technology just really progressed until, here we are today with our new spotting scope, where it's really geared towards somebody that demands, great optical quality and a lot of versatility. And they're doing, this one, is set up for a pretty specific job, but it's, all of our products can be used in different, whether it's competition, whether it's hunting, whether it's, recreational shooting, any of those. So anybody that really demands the absolute best, they shop for Nightforce.
Awesome. So like you would say the targeted consumer today when it comes to product innovation is just someone who wants the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Something, somebody that knows they're getting a rugged, reliable, repeatable optic, that's not going to fail when they're on a mountainside or on this, crazy hunt and wherever in the world, or they're out doing their job, serving, whatever it may be. They can depend on our optics every single time.
Yeah. So I've noticed this with a couple companies, and we haven't really filmed too much about it yet as of the filming of right now. So you may see something retrospectively of what I'm talking about right now. We see companies who has started their product line or products towards you guys, the civilians, and then later on contracts came about.
Yeah.
And then like a new line has shot off towards those contracts, for example, like the Attacker, right? Is it?
Yeah,
Would that be right
absolutely. I mean, when we originally developed scopes, the NXS line, early in GWAT, like got adopted by a lot of units for sniper rifles and SPRs and things like that. And we still have the NXS line, but that progressed into the NX8 and, definitely the ATAC-R series where, we had as many, features as was feasible and as enough, kind of user requests and user demand for that sort of apex optic.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So we see actually something similar with EOTech. So obviously EOTech does a lot of military and law enforcement stuff, but the Voodoo line was made after the fact, after they started doing contract things specifically for us, for the civilian defense industry. So it's really cool to see a company like Nightforce who needed something. There was a need. It was a high demand, high performing, item, and then the military came along, started adopting it, but it's still being pushed towards civilians pretty heavily. So the cool thing is that high performance item came from the civilian defense industry. That's what I'm trying to get at with Nightforce, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, our ATAC-R series was basically transformed into our mil-spec line from demands for contracts. We have 3 SOCOM contracts for 1 to 8, 7 to 35s, 4 to 20s. Those were civilian products before.
So one of the things that we're trying to harp on here is that the civilian defense industry pushes the envelope, like I said, for optics, lasers, and firearms specifically. Like I said, niche technology things. Military does its own thing with that sort of stuff. But so, like I said, we want to see companies start to innovate towards the civilian defense industry first, military contract second, because generally we want things sooner than what the military wants. So, Alexander, appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. The long-awaited Cloud Defensive EPL. So 52,000 candela, 1,200 lumens. Looking at about $270 for this guy. Looks about X300-ish form factor when it comes to just size and whatnot, but pretty interesting switches. So definitely better switches than what we're used to on, like the X300. So with the regular purchase of the pistol, I can drive my thumb down, apply pressure with my thumb, help fight recoil as I activate the weapon light, which is pretty cool. Quick click, constant on. And if you hold it down, it's momentary, so it's much like the TLR7 Alpha or something like that. And a little thing that's a little unique about it is the hot spot's a little bit wider versus like a Surefire Turbo or a Mod Light or something like that. So still a hot spot for the high candela, but it's just a little bit wider, which is cool for a pistol light. So looking forward to get some of these in. They're going to send us some for holster dev and stuff like that, probably. And obviously we'll look at it for formal T&E to bring on as a potential retail item. Surefire XT3, basically Surefire's version of the TLR7 Alpha. We've actually known about this for quite a while. We had a prototype a few months ago to help with the design of the switches. So the switches work basically the same exact way as the TLR7 Alpha from Streamlight. So I push down, well, this one's dead, but if I push down on the button, it's momentary only. And we like these type of switches because while I push down, it helps me fight recoil as I activate the light. Or if I just click it once, it'll be constant only. So very similar form factor to the Streamlight TLR7A. It's made for basically the Glock 19. It's that like kind of perfect form factor. So excited for this to come to fruition because Streamlight makes really good flashlights. So looking forward to seeing this light in its full potential. Actually, that's why the head was off of it. That's why it wasn't working. But another cool thing, something that the market's been wanting for quite a while, is for other suppressor companies to be able to attach to Surefire suppressors, and we finally have that now. So we have the fast attach hub here from Surefire, so you'll be able to buy this for, you name it, your dead air suppressor or whatever. I think your dead air, I think this will work with dead air. I might be wrong. And you can attach it on there, and then you can use the Surefire muzzle device. So one of my favorite things about Surefire suppressors are the muzzle devices themselves. I think they're the best standalone muzzle devices on the market, hands down. When it comes to flash mitigation, even their muzzle brakes with recoil control, and even the war comps. I know they're not the best suppressor host, but they do a really good job of flash suppression and a really good job of recoil control. So being able to go with the best muzzle device for a different suppressor, maybe there's a better performing suppressor out there, which we know Surefire suppressors aren't for everyone. It's pretty cool. So pretty excited about that. I like Surefire suppressors. I like their muzzle devices, so not a big deal for me. But for some of you guys who prioritize sound suppression more than you do flash suppression, obviously Surefire is probably not for you. So now you can get a great muzzle device for your suppressor that fits your preferences. pretty cool product from LaRue Tactical. So a little bit of biased opinion here from LaRue. LaRue sent my team on my second deployment a bunch of hats, custom embroidered based on what we want for free. It was like $1,000 worth of hats that they sent us because I sent a picture of my LaRue hat that I was wearing to them, and it was like completely destroyed just from Iraqi sun and whatnot. And they sent the whole team hats, and plus the wives some custom pink hats. It was super cool. So I really like LaRue as a company just because of that experience I had with them. But super cool briefcase thing here. This is called the Siete. Sorry, I shouldn't have tried to like put an accent on it. You guys know what it's called. You can look at the price tag here, or the name of it. So pretty cool thing here. We got a briefcase sniper rifle. So this is something that Lucas has been interested in lately. But we have the gun itself right here. So you have the basically, if you're familiar with ARs, obviously a lower and the Remington 700 action here. And then over here you have the barrel and handguard. It's a 17-inch barrel, comes in 6.5 or 308. Really cool. You have a torque wrench that comes with the kit. So I actually really like that about the kit. It's not as fast as some of these other ones that we're seeing on the market, but you take this guy out, you take the barrel out of the handguard, you thread it on a couple turns, and then you use a torque wrench to actually torque it down to spec. So I definitely prefer that over things that are just hand tight because it just brings a little bit more peace of mind, in my opinion. Handguard latches on with this QD system, which is super cool. And then the kit comes with the gun, the barrel, the handguard, this torque wrench, the Harris bipod with their QD mount, and the scope mount for an optic. It doesn't come with the laser rangefinder and optic or the suppressor, but the spots are there for it. And we're seeing these sell apparently for around $4,000. So pretty cool kit. I'm definitely going to be looking at getting one of these for the Armory. This is pretty dope. So we're at the Faro Concepts booth. If you're unfamiliar with Faro Concepts, they make nylon goods. They make some really cool stuff. Some of my favorite stuff that's non-TRX is made by Faro Concepts. For example, their Bison belt, pistol belt. It's my favorite belt currently. But a new plate carrier that they have is the Slim Jim. This is a plate carrier designed to be worn under a shirt or a jacket. And there's a couple of those on the market already, but what's interesting about this one is they actually have a plate that's being designed for this plate carrier, so it makes it ultra low vis. It's going to have some additional curves or more curved in certain areas, I guess, and it's also swimmer's cut. So like I said, there are plate carriers like this already on the market, but something that is designed with that much attention to the detail, I don't think we've seen yet. Now, the context of the video, we are looking to highlight companies that are innovating towards the civilian defense industry. Now, this is a product that was not designed specifically for the civilian defense industry, and this is where things get a little interesting, I think, when it comes down to the conversation of this video, because we haven't historically seen a huge need for this as civilians, and the only reason why we've realized that we do need something like this is because we've seen professional end users need it, so like personal security teams or something like that. So what's cool about this, yes, it was designed for a couple of contracts in mind, but it's coming right to the civilian defense industry as well, so us normal people can buy it as well. So this is definitely a piece of equipment that is a little kind of in that in-between, I guess, when we're talking about things designed for civilian defense industry or designed specifically for military. I think this is one of those things that's kind of in between, and even though it's designed for a contract, we still benefit from it greatly. So this is a pretty cool plate carrier. Looking forward to playing with this guy. So not necessarily a new product, but something that is extremely cool, and this is a belt-fed upper from Fightlight. I don't know why I can't remember the name of the company. So this is something I've been wanting to look at for a very, very long time, because this is basically an M249 SAW upper receiver that you can just put on a standard AR-15 lower. So the upper will come with a modified bolt catch, so it'll just work around all of the machining and material that's going on there. But with this gun here is extremely cool, and I think this is something that we as civilians should be looking at pretty heavily as we push the civilian defense industry. Obviously, this wasn't designed for military contracts because they already have machine guns and belt-fed guns. This was designed for the civilian. This was designed for the person who has a very fast trigger finger, or maybe a trigger that helps with the reset a little bit, to be able to sustain a high rate of fire for a long period of time. And as civilians, obviously one of the things that we're lacking in capability is a gun that can do that, can sustain high rates of fire, provide suppressing fire, and stuff like that. So this is a tool that I think is just as important, if not more important, than even precision guns, and that is something obviously that we've been seeing a push in the civilian defense industry, is people having those precision rifles. That brings a whole nother capability to the small unit that we haven't seen in the previous years. So this is the next thing, in my opinion, that we should be heavily looking at, is the ability to have a very high rate of fire sustained for a long period of time. So this gun It's extremely cool. It's piston driven. It's a quick swap barrel, so you can buy separate barrels for it down to 12.5 inches. So basically, just like the Para barrel for the M249 Sol. So these are 16-inch barrels, obviously. You can swap them out quick, just like you could, a normal belt-fed machine gun. And these guys are normally around $8,000 to $9,000 or $10,000 if I remember correctly. So that sounds pretty expensive, but I would say this capability is much more important than something like night vision. This can be used in a ton of different scenarios, and from what I hear, these things work extremely well. Now, if you're not looking to spend that much money on one of these, which I understand, they did come out with something new this year, and this is their Raptor line. So we remove a couple features from it, and you save about $1,700 if I remember correctly. So no Picatinny here. It's a non-adjustable gas block. You don't have the handle for your barrel. It's still a quick swap barrel, however. And then there's some other things like there's not a folding charging handle on this guy. It's fixed, and some other stuff going on the internals. But the cool thing with this guy is if you buy this, you can upgrade to all the parts that are on this guy. So very excited about this. We're actually going to be reaching out to them shortly after SHOT Show to do some content on this, run it through its paces, use it on an actual full auto lower that's SOT legal and whatnot, and then we're gonna play with some other things. But like I said, this is one of the most important things that I think we as civilians, pushing the civilian defense industry, pushing the capabilities of the modern day Minuteman, this is something that we should be looking at with a lot of importance, I should say. This is very important for us to consider. So we're at the SIG booth now, lots of new stuff over here. As usual, SIG likes to innovate and come out with a lot of new stuff. And the one cool thing about SIG is, yes, they do generally design stuff for contracts, the DoD specifically, but as soon as that stuff goes to the government, they make it available for civilians generally. So it's not always the case, but that is the general case. So just a thing to note there because, again, context of the video. But what we have here is the new Romeo 8T AMR. So this is going to be just another version of the Romeo AT. It looks completely different, obviously, but it comes with this magnifier, which is pretty interesting. So MSRP on this guy is around $700 apparently. What's cool about this magnifier is when the magnifier is flipped to the side, the reticle in this guy is just your normal, red dot or EOTech style reticle. But when you flip this guy over, there's magnets that go on here, and the reticle changes to a mill, like 4 dots that are mill based. So you can basically build a quick little dope card for your gun and have a holdover distance with a 3x magnifier. So that's very cool. That's something we haven't seen before. Another thing that they have here that came out a couple months ago is a clip-on thermal. It's around $4,000. It can record. I don't know a lot about a thermal, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But the cool thing is it's another thermal option at a pretty affordable price that we're definitely going to look at as we want to bring on thermals for sale this year. So obviously we want to bring on very high-end options and then some good, better priced options, something like this. So this is something we're going to be looking at as well. It's also really light, and it being cost effective and very light, is obviously attractive. Now there's one more thing we got to look at. We just got to wait for these guys to be done. But a couple other things with SIG, they have some new versions of the Spear coming out. The True Rattler is coming, so a 5.5 inch 300 blackout or 5 1/4, whatever it is. They have the same thing coming out for 5.56. Those are all contract overrun guns, so something designed for contracts. That's one thing that, for example, that SIG designed for the government got it, and then we got it later on once we got some leftovers, basically, which not based, but it is what it is. And another interesting question I asked was, will we ever see a semi-version of this, a semi-automatic version of these machine guns? So as civilians who can't buy a transferable, but companies like TRX who can make machine guns, we can have the option of doing that. They said no, probably not going to happen. So because they prioritize having these made for the end user, unbased, but it is what it is. So we've got one more thing to check out. Super cool. We just gotta wait for these guys to step away. So most exciting thing from SHOT Show, in my opinion, so far has been this laser rangefinder. So this guy is filling a huge hole in the market because there just isn't really any options out there for us civilians to have a good laser rangefinder at a good price. So the Vortex Impact 4000 has been out for quite a while. Everyone has loved it, but it doesn't have applied ballistics, unfortunately. This guy does, and it's coming in at $2,000 or $3,000. I don't remember the price now. I should remember, but I forgot. So the fact that this guy's coming out, very, very exciting. So this is going to be end of Q1, early Q2, so really, really near. And this is definitely something we're going to be looking at to sell. Another cool thing about this guy is they have a line of optics coming out. They actually displayed it on Monday. I didn't get around to see it, but a majority of the information that's displayed on this laser rangefinder will be displayed in the top 18% of the optic window. So there's literally the top portion of your scope, your 3-18, 1-8, whatever the case is, that they have this technology, and you'll be able to see the data from your laser rangefinder in there. which is super cool. So that's something we haven't seen yet. And it's a technology that we've been wanting for quite some time. Also coming out with tripods, not the most exciting thing out there, but another good option on the market. Now this was designed for a specific contract of mine, which again brings up another frustration that we've been talking about already, and that is the Civilian Defense Center has been wanting this. The features of this guy have been expressed by civilians for quite a while, but it's only that a contract has requested it that we see it. So this is something we should have seen quite a long time ago. But happy it's here now, and looking forward to testing it out. So continuing on the conversation with the SIG laser rangefinder, we do have one from MasTec working with Magpul Industries. So this was announced last SHOT Show. We got to look at it, play with it a little bit, but it looked like it's coming to market pretty soon. So this guy is $2,200, and the way it interfaces and displays the information onto your optic is with any 30 mil tube size. So your 1:6 Tango 6T, your 2.5 to 20 Nightforce NX8, this guy can work with it. So $2,200, and this guy's extremely light. This is maybe like 10 ounces or something like that. So they did say we're going to get one of these pretty soon to get to look at. Another thing that we're very, very excited about. So appreciate you handing it off. Thanks, man. So we're at the Atlas Gunworks booth. This is my second swing by from the booth, but just wanted to show some of the new stuff from the company and also show some of the other pistol models. So a little bit ago, we released a video of me in my personal Atlas pistol. So I own one of these. I own a Atlas Ares. It's a 4.6 inch aluminum ported barrel. And the idea of the video was to compare my performance with the Glock that I've been shooting for a few years, comparatively to my brand new Atlas 2011. So a little bit of context there, and hopefully this paints the picture of the quality of Atlas pistols. I've been shooting my Glock for roughly 6 years or so. I have well over 40,000 rounds on that particular pistol. I've shot multiple classifiers at the GM and M level through USPSA, and then I obviously competed in the tactical games with the pistol. So I'm very, very familiar with the Glock pistol basically. And the first day I shot my Atlas pistol, every single facet of my shooting, whether it was shooting and moving, accuracy-based shooting, improved. And it was the first time I ever shot the pistol directly compared to the Glock that I've been shooting for multiple years. So if that doesn't say anything about just the performance increased possibility of these pistols, I don't know what does. I think that was painted pretty clearly there. So cool thing from Atlas though, talking about some new stuff, is the grip module for staccato. So everyone knows who staccato is. One thing I don't like about staccatos is basically the lower half of the gun. Upper part of the gun I don't know too much about when it comes to just performance differences between these and some other high pistols, aside from like porting and stuff. This porting and being much more complicated and just a better process. But no grip safety, takes you can put an Atlas trigger in there, you can do some other stuff. So this is pretty cool. And price, I don't remember exactly. I think it's around $600 to be able to do this. So if you do it yourself, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna be able to see some staccatos get upgraded to basically half an Atlas, which is pretty dope. Now I do want to walk down the line of some of these pistols, just so you guys, especially if you watched the YouTube video we published a little bit ago, a little more frame of reference of what Atlas offers. So this is actually the pistol that I wanted, but it's in very high demand, very hard to get. So this is the Apollo. This is essentially the exact same pistol I have, but with a steel frame. And this is the coating that I just think, one, looks cool, and it is just butter. Like, using my pinky to rack this thing is just incredible. So I said it earlier in another clip, but I think I've touched every 2011 on the floor this year, and these just feel like on another level, to be honest. There's some really good feeling in looking 2011s out there. They're definitely worth the money, but these just feel like they're just a step up, to be honest, which is, it's just impressive that you're able to do that. So this is the big boy. This is the Erebus. So this is probably the most common competition pistol from Atlas. So big compensator, full-size gun. This is going to be, like I said, the most common. And if you're seeing sponsored athletes that are shooting with these pistols, this is probably the one they're shooting with. It's definitely the one that they want more than any of the other ones. So next pistol, Titan RDS. This is the pistol I was looking at. I believe this is the cheapest one they offer. So it's just a 5-inch 2011, no ports or anything. So if you're looking to shoot limited optics and you want a high-end 2011, this is probably one of the ones to get. One of the best choices. Generally comes with a 2.5 or 3 pound trigger, if I remember correctly. This trigger's pretty nuts. That's impressive. I love 2011s. Next guy here is the Artemis. So we have, this is unported as well, but we have majority of the mass left at the front sight post. So just less mass reciprocating with the guns, full-size gun. So in theory, comparatively to like the Titan RDS, should have a little bit less felt recoil, but like I said, these guns already shoot super soft, so it's going to be, depending on how much input in the gun, it's going to be marginal based on what you experience. This is probably going to be the pistol that I get as a backup to my current pistol, and this is the Athena. So this is the 4.6-inch version of Atlas, so it's basically the exact same size gun that I have currently, but it's steel frame and no ports, so wanted to be a good backup and just another option I can use if I want to compete in USPSA. My gun currently, because it has ports, I'd be in the open division, which obviously there's guys running like crazy race guns in that division, so I'd be at a disadvantage. But if I got this gun, I can run limited optics, and I would be, you know, on an equipment side of things, just on the same level as everyone else competing. And then finally, this is one of their more smaller pistols. This is the Nyx. So steel frame, I believe this is a 4 1/4 barrel. I could be wrong, but just one of the smaller pistols. So they do offer a lot of different options, but the main target of these guns is obviously going to be competition, high-end performance guns. So people see the price points of these and they're blown away generally, and that's completely understandable. We got to realize who these pistols are made for. They're made for the person trying to push their performance to the next level, and these are Ferraris, so they're going to take maintenance. You're going to experience things like, you know, experience in mine where I was doing something incorrectly basically by overturning magazines, broken ejector, so that's just the way it is with these guns. So Atlas gun works. I really like them, despite, you know, some of the hiccups I've had with it. So. There's been a lot of excitement about the B.E. Meyers Dagger IR laser illuminator. So this is basically, for a brief explanation, it's the B.E. Meyers Maul made into an over-the-bore laser, so a traditional mounting solution versus the Maul that mounts on the offset of the gun. So some people don't prefer this. This is actually my favorite laser illuminator on the market right now. I do kind of go back and forth between this and the Raid XE, but having all of the features of the Maul into an over-the-bore laser is very exciting. However, it's not designed for you guys. This is made for SOCOM specifically, and they're going to fulfill SOCOM's desires first before we see a civilian version. So there is no ETA on a civilian version at this time. B.E. Meyers also is making a laser rangefinder that has IR laser illuminator in there. A bunch of crazy technology. Same thing though. So I guess we'll just have to wait and hope. Welcome back to the Armory again. If you guys stuck through the videos this far, I really appreciate it. There was a lot of things that we filmed on the SHOT Show floor, so again, if you watched through all of it, I really do appreciate your time in watching this video. So getting into the main takeaways from SHOT Show, let's talk about some of the most interesting new products that we've seen. So I'm actually going to start with just 2011s in general. 2011s are definitely making a comeback in the industry. They're becoming very, very popular again, and that is mainly due to the fact that we're seeing competition shooting kind of get more popular in general, and obviously 2011s are mainly a competition pistol, but also we're seeing these 2011s being made into more duty roles like the Staccato HD, for example. So we're seeing people using them in competition, but also wanting to carry them in duty. So we're seeing these 2011s being made for both, you know, customer bases, which is pretty cool. So I do think that in the next few years, 2011s are going to be a much more common pistol, and they're not going to be that pistol that everyone just hates for no reason. Next, I would say the most interesting thing is Wilcox G24 replacements. We saw one from AGM, and we also saw one from Noise Fighter that looked very, very promising. This has been something we've been wanting for a very long time in the industry. It's just good ways to mount night vision to your helmet that don't cost $450, and with the $450 you get a little wobble on your helmet. So the fact that we're seeing some other options out there that at least from first glance seem to be better and cheaper is very promising. So again, this is something that we've been wanting for a very long time in the industry, and finally we're getting it. So I do look forward to that as well. And the next, in the same vein as just night vision in general, we saw a couple new laser options come out to SHOT Show as well. The Steiner laser being the most notable in the civilian, the civilian market for IR lasers, illuminators. There's not a ton of good options out there. The illuminators are generally pretty weak with civilian lasers. So the fact that Steiner's coming out with one that has the similar technologies of Wilcox Raid or a B.E. Meyers Maul is really promising, and I'm really excited about that as well. Another thing that we saw that the civilian market has been wanting for a very long time is laser rangefinders, weapon-mounted laser rangefinders specifically. So SIG has one that's coming out very soon that looks very promising. That's at a very good price point. We have the Vortex Impact 4000 currently. Everyone seems to love it. They just generally don't like the size and the form factor of it. Seems like SIG has addressed that specifically, and it comes with applied ballistics. So seeing that one and then some other ones that we saw out on the floor is also very promising. So in the next few years, we're definitely going to see, at least I would assume, some good laser rangefinder options that are weapon mounted coming to market as well. So finally, we're getting some of that technology to the civilian customer base. Now, the last and final point I want to make about SHOT Show 2025 is actually what the original context of this video was supposed to be, like I said in the beginning of the video. And that is pointing out products that were made specifically for you guys, the civilian defense industry. Now, walking throughout the entire SHOT Show floor, I can only come up with one company that was actually making new innovative products specifically for you guys, the civilian defense industry, and that is Palmetto State Armory. Majority of the new cool products that are coming out, whether it was the Steiner laser or the SIG laser rangefinder, or even the Staccato HD, for example, all of these products were made specifically for a military or a law enforcement contract in mind, and we're just getting the leftovers of the designs of those products. This is frustrating because the civilian defense industry has been asking for products like this for a very, very long time. We've been asking for, products with these exact design features for years and years now, and it's only because a contract wanted them is why we're actually seeing these products come to market now. Historically speaking, when it comes down to weapon innovation, whether it's, guns themselves, optics, accessories, and things like that, the civilians have generally pushed the envelope when it comes to design and innovation of these products. So seeing that new products that civilians have wanted for a very long time only come to fruition because a contract wanted them is extremely frustrating. Now, I will say when it comes to like very technical type stuff like headphones or communications type equipment or, drones or things like that, contracts and things like that are going to push the envelope when it comes to technology because civilians just haven't needed equipment like that in a long time. That equipment's kind of emerged through current warfighting. But when it comes to weapons and things like that, when it comes to small arms, generally civilian defense industry pushes the envelope in design of things like that. All that to say, it is very disheartening to see so many companies come out to SHOT Show and so few are actually designing products for you guys, the civilian defense industry. We're just seeing so many people, so many companies really just designing their products, pushing their designs and their innovation towards military and law enforcement contracts or even competition shooting and hunting, which isn't as bad in my opinion as pushing for government sales, but it's still not prioritizing what's most important in my opinion. That is the civilian defense industry. The civilian defense industry is extremely important, far more important than people realize, to defending our Second Amendment and defending life and extending liberty. So what we need to do a better job of is helping these companies realize how important the civilian defense industry is at actually protecting our Second Amendment rights for protecting life and extending liberty. Everything that we do in this industry, whether it's training for competition shooting, going to the gym and training, all of this is in preparation to make ourselves an actual asset when it comes down to the civilian defense industry. And the civilian defense industry is only going to be optimized if companies actually manufacture, produce, and design products for it, rather than producing and manufacturing products for contracts or something else like that, and we just get the leftovers of it. So with all that being said, there was definitely a lot of realization on my end when it comes down to who exactly or products being made for. Are we even in, these companies' first thoughts when it comes down to designing products? And honestly, we're not, which is, like I said, a little disheartening. So like I said, we just need to do a better job of making sure people realize how important the civilian defense industry is, and we need to do a better job of normalizing that sort of terminology. Because right now, it's not that common of a term. People are throwing around here and there, but we just need to be more vocal about it, talk about it more, and again, help companies to understand just the importance of the civilian defense industry. So I hope you guys enjoying this content. I apologize again if it was a little jumpy. It seemed a little bit, just out of place here and there. But like I said, we just got really, really busy at SHOT Show. So if you guys made it this far, I do appreciate you guys' patience and your time in watching the video. And until next time, guys, this is Brandon from T-Rex.
I'll give you a 3-second countdown. In 3, 2, 1.